What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have 5 years in the Netherlands, an honest review from an American. 5 years. I mean, I feel like you have the experience to give an honest review after 5 years. I would love to see how it is in the Netherlands just for a couple weeks, but 5 years would also be absolutely awesome. Anyways, before we dive in, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and let's get right to it.
Why did you leave California to come to the Netherlands? That's the most common question that I get. And I tell people, to pursue the Dutch dream. Dear Diary, it's been 5 years in the Netherlands. 5 years ago, I was lost, struggling to find a career, struggling to find myself. I spent all my life trying to achieve this American dream that my immigrant parents had worked so hard to provide for me and my sister. But something was missing. And then this idea kept coming back. Europe. I always met Europeans while traveling and thought, do they even work? How do they have all this time?
Do they even
but they
work?
also told me
I feel
about
that.
a different way of living. A life where everyone gets 5 weeks of vacation and takes them. A life with affordable healthcare and education for all. So I researched and researched, and the Netherlands kept coming up as one of the happiest countries in the world, fluent English speakers, bicycles, and high-quality study programs in English. And then I thought, maybe I could go back to school. And so I applied, I got in, and I found my way into the land of the Dutch to study in a small fairy tale town called Maastricht. It was a beautiful one-year experience. I loved the program, I loved the city. And then I graduated and I excitedly moved to Amsterdam for a new job and a new life. And then
COVID-19.
Europe is now the epicenter of the COVID-19 crisis.
well,
I think it's just so far. I think it's really cool that he decided after his parents had worked so hard to try to give him the American dream, and he was trying to push for that as well. He sounds like he's traveled to Europe, and he got to be like, do these people ever work? Like, they always on vacation, they always hanging out, they always having a good time. How do they have time? And so he started doing some research, found, oh, Netherlands, they happy? Oh, they get 5 weeks vacation? Oh, he said, hold up. Maybe I've been chasing the wrong dream. Maybe I need to be chasing the Dutch dream instead of the American dream. So my boy went back to school. Beautiful town, Maastricht. Beautiful city, it looked like. Graduated, moved over to Amsterdam. COVID-19 hit, and let's see, that's where we left off. So let's continue.
I decided to stick it out. And 5 years later, I'm still here. So let me tell you 5 reasons why I'm still here in the Netherlands. Well,
Let's do
sometimes
it.
I do have to question myself, especially during these dark winters. Why did I leave California to come here? Because to be honest, the Netherlands is great, but it's not perfect. It's not all tulips and sunshine. Especially the
I feel
winters,
that.
they are depressing. But when it comes to living in a country for an extended period of time, it's not just the weather, but there are other factors, social, economic, societal, systemic factors that contribute a lot to one's happiness. That's actually what all these happiness reports measure. And overall, I do think that the pros far outweigh the cons in this country. And a big one in the Netherlands is balance, or what I like to call time over money. Now, I'm very
love
grateful
that.
for the US, and my heart still stays there in many ways. But being away for 5 years, I do see that back in the US, there's an overly big focus on chasing more money, more status, more fame. And I do think that can be dangerous if you're just chasing more and more, and you're never satisfied with just enough. And I do get it because it's a system that favors those that have more. And for me, I almost didn't stay in the Netherlands because I almost decided to go back to San Francisco because I compared the salaries between San Francisco and Amsterdam, and I would be making a lot more money in San Francisco. But that's really the mindset. It's about a number. It's about making more. And what I've come to really appreciate about the Netherlands is while money is important, it's about balance. Balance so that you can have more time. People leave work at 5 p.m. People have 5-6 weeks of vacation and they take them. People don't work outside of work hours. There's no expectation to answer emails on vacation. And a lot of people do work part-time. In fact, that was a surprise to me that the Netherlands has the shortest work week in the world because people decide to work 4 days a week, 3 days a week.
See,
and it really
that's
took me a while to
beautiful.
recondition this
Perfect.
mindset of having less money in order to have more time. But in the Netherlands, from a practical perspective, you get taxed 50% of your income above 70K. And so
Okay.
there really isn't
Okay.
a big incentive for people to make more. People would rather
Facts.
make less so that they can have more time and less stress in their lives. Because you can live quite comfortably with an average income in the Netherlands. So that allows
See.
people to focus more of their time on things that they value, such as vacation, family, hobbies, volunteering. And it reminds me of this quote. When you're young, you have time, you have health, but you have no money. When you're
Facts.
middle-aged, you have money and you have health, but you have no time. When you're old, you have money and you have time, but you have no health.
That's
The
such
Dutch
a
way of
perfect
living is,
quote.
instead of making the most money, it's about being okay with just enough. And that's what really living to work instead of working to live really means. And a big thing is the system supports it. A social safety net.
I feel like that's really amazing because at the end of the day, you can make more money, but you can't make more time, right? Every second that passes is a second of your life that you can never get back. And so to focus on time is such a big thing. And in my mind, I've always thought, well, like if I chase more and more money, then the more money I make, I'll be able to buy time, right? I'll be able to, because once I make this much, I won't have to work as much. And now I have more time to do things so I've always thought of money as a tool to buy time because I've always thought time was the most important thing. But I feel like in America, you're so busy chasing money in order to get that time, that time passes without you really knowing. And now you worked your life away and it's like you were never able to afford that time that you so desperately wanted. And so I really love him in the Netherlands saying, right, that 70,000, that's where people stop because I don't blame them. Nobody want to get taxed 50%. So that's where people stop and they're able to live a comfortable life and they're able to, right, enjoy their time. They're able to spend that time doing things that they love. Where in the U.S. we are in that mindset of always chasing more and never being content. In the Netherlands, and that's why I guess they're the happiest country in the world on the index because they don't view life as chasing money. They view life as, right, money is a necessity, but their time is more important. So anything, it sounds like, with extra money, I don't really need it. I'd rather have that time to go and do something I enjoy. Let's dive into reason number 2.
Now, before coming to the Netherlands, I had only heard about such a term, but now I understand what it means. The Dutch system provides security and stability for people so that they don't end up on the streets. So there's less fear of being homeless or needing to pay 100K on a hospital bill. Let me share some examples that I've seen, experienced, or that those around me have experienced over the years. The past year has been a big year of layoffs, and I know colleagues in the US and also here that have been laid off. Now, in the US, you can get laid off or fired at any time, gone the next day,
For
and
sure.
often without
For
money
sure.
or severance. And because healthcare
Facts.
is so expensive and is usually tied to your job, then it becomes stressful and expensive when you need to take care of healthcare without a job. Now, in the
Facts.
Netherlands, of course you can still get laid off. That's how businesses work, but it's a lot harder, especially if you have a permanent contract. And I know of several people that have been laid off, but it took them time to negotiate a severance package. And often you will get at least a few months of severance. You're not going to get let go the next day. And when it comes to healthcare, it's affordable on your own. It costs 100, 200 euros a month. And if you make below a certain income, the government will give you money to pay for healthcare. Another right that I've seen and pleasantly surprised by is the right to be sick. Wait, shouldn't that be a universal right? Unfortunately,
Yes,
that's not the
it
case
should
around the
be.
world, but it is the case here. If you're sick, say on burnout or mental health or a disease, you're protected by the law, say up to 2 years, and you will
See,
still get paid. For example,
that's
burnout.
so
I've never
amazing,
heard
bro.
the term before coming to the Netherlands. Then I heard of so many cases of people being burnt out once, twice, 3 times, and people were so open in admitting that. Now
That's
I've
so
learned it's
awesome.
not because there are more cases here compared to the rest of the world. It's
Yeah.
because the law protects people and people are open to admit it. In the US and in Asia, I know of family members, friends who were fired from their jobs because they were sick long term, because they had
Crazy.
cancer. And that's so messed up because we as
Disgusting.
humans will get sick. But the difference here is that the law protects you. And let me quickly touch upon physical safety. I think that's a very important part when living in a country. I've never felt unsafe living in this country. For example, the homeless problem. Of course, there are homeless people in the Netherlands, but you just don't see them roaming around the streets, living in tents, doing drugs. It's a concern and a worry for the safety of my parents walking around in the streets. That's something that you don't have to worry about here in a big city in the Netherlands. And another one is safety for your children. And I wasn't fully aware of this specific topic until talking to a few American parents who are raising their kids here. And they told me now they don't have to fear for their children going
I
to
feel that.
school due
Yep.
to mass school shootings.
That's so
that
sad.
really is the
That's
unfortunate
so
reality.
sad.
And of course, it doesn't happen all the time, but it
Jesus,
can
man.
happen in the US because of gun violence.
For
Another one
sure.
is education, and let me tell you why. Because in the Netherlands, you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to put yourself or your family through education. I was talking to this American family, parents, and they have 3 kids in high school, and they told me that they could not afford to put their kids through college in the US. It would have been hundreds of thousands of dollars. They would have had to go into debt. But here in the Netherlands, they only have to pay a few thousand euros in tuition per year per student. And I can relate to that as well because that was the big reason I decided to study here instead of the US because the cost of education here is a lot lower than the US. And that's a big difference because in the US, debt is unfortunately part of the life of an American. And debt is crippling. It can create a lot of fear in one's life, not a lot of stability because you know in the back of your mind, you need to pay off your debt. And this is what a safety net feels like because life is gonna throw you a curveball, but I know that I won't be on the streets. Another thing that has contributed
I feel like for sure, number one, healthcare. It's exorbitant prices over here in the U.S. So it's like when you get sick, because we're humans, we're gonna get sick. It's if you're not insured, then you're absolutely screwed. And if you are insured, you're paying an arm and leg for insurance monthly, and then you still have to go pay deductibles or a copay or this or that, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So it's like people avoid going to the hospital at all costs because you can't afford it. You will try any and everything before you go to the hospital. And with this mindset, right, there may be something that isn't curable with over-the-counter medicines or any home remedies or anything. And because you waited so long to go to the hospital, now it's too far gone. And whatever infection or disease or sickness or anything for them to do anything. And that's literally what's heartbreaking. So many people die because they can't afford health care. Where in the Netherlands, that's not a thing. In the U.S., parents scared to send their kids to school is absolutely ridiculous of a first world country for parents to be scared to send your children to school. But here we are because you saw the statistics. School shootings are on the rise and you see it more and more. And it's heartbreaking because nothing's ever done about that. You don't have to worry about that in the U.S. You don't have to worry about the homeless. You don't have to worry about calling your job and being sick and being fired for that. Right? You can actually burn out. Try to call your boss and tell them you're burnt out here. Oh my God, you're done. You're done. You're fired. But in the Netherlands, it's okay to be burnt out. It's okay to get sick. You can take that time and they still pay your wages because they care. Like it's I don't know. It's such a night and day difference, man.
contributed a lot to my happiness in this country is there's less of a need to compare yourself socially. There are less expectations as compared to other cultures. I come from the US and also an Asian culture where you're conditioned to try to be better than the others, to compare yourself. To
For
have
sure.
a timeline of expectations. You need to be this, you need to have this at this certain age.
Yeah.
And it's very freeing because when you don't feel the need to have something, to compare yourself as much, then you're more free to be happy and to enjoy your life. A Dutch saying
Love
that
that.
I've come to really appreciate is the do normaal saying, or to act normal. And you're taught here not to brag, and that's very different compared to the US where Americans are great at bragging.
Yeah.
You know, one thing is I've stopped asking
Yeah.
people what they do for work. I've also stopped expecting people to ask me what I do for work because I was conditioned to judge others based on this external label of what someone did for work, the school they went
Facts.
to. It's very
Facts.
freeing when you don't need to judge others based on these external labels and you can get to know someone for who they really are. I was talking to a Polish friend the other day as well, and she told me it's been very freeing for her to come to a country where there aren't these social pressures to get married or to have a family, and some people don't have that opportunity. And I also feel the same way. I come from this Asian culture where I'm expected by this age to be married, to have kids. When you don't have these expectations, that creates a lot more room for happiness to flourish within myself, and so I'm very thankful for that. I also live a healthier
For
lifestyle.
sure. I thoroughly agree. Comparison is the thief of all joy. And constantly compare yourself to others and compare yourself to where they're at. And it just takes away because you're constantly in competition with everybody instead of learning to be content with where you are and being happy on your own journey. There's so much judgment based on what you do, based on what school you go to, based on what car you drive, what things you have. I guess in the Netherlands it's not like that, right? You can go above and beyond and get all this nice stuff and everything, but they're not gonna brag about it. They're not gonna boast and show it off and all like we're gonna do here in America. And then the people don't really care. Like, oh, you have that, like, awesome. I may not have all that, but they still see each other as equals instead of trying to compare and compete with that person. That's awesome. That's a great mindset to have, to live life with.
Here in the Netherlands, and that's due to design. Well, biking culture, of course I knew about bikes before coming here, but I didn't realize how big of a role it would play in my life here because people here cycle 10 to 20 kilometers every week. You cycle to the supermarket, to the office, to the train stations. It's become my main mode of transportation. And it's like killing two birds with one stone because before, when I lived in the US, I would drive to my local gym in order to cycle. Now I cycle in order to get from point A to point B. And I also walk a lot more too. It's a very walkable country. Everything is quite small. And food and nutrition have become important topics in my life now. As I get older, I realize my metabolism isn't as high anymore, so I have to watch what I eat. But the nice thing about the Netherlands is there is less temptation as compared to the US in terms of fast food. Back home in the US, I used to eat a lot of fast food, believe it or not, more than I wanted to. I had these cravings late at night and I would grab a snack from the local McDonald's or Del Taco. But here, you don't have as many of those temptations. It's not as easy. And if there's something I've learned about behavioral science and psychology is if you want to change behaviors for the better, for example, changing your diet, a big part of it is changing your environment. And here, the environment, there isn't as many temptations for things like fast food. And the food that you buy in the supermarkets, it's healthier. For one, due to EU regulations, there are less highly processed foods here in the Netherlands as compared to the US. There's also less variety, less options. So I don't have as many choices to choose from, which is a good thing for me because I have a sweet tooth. And one thing that I've learned about is the Netherlands is the second biggest exporter of agriculture behind the US. And that means the supermarket food food and produce is actually quite high quality and affordable. And lastly,
so there you get to have a healthier lifestyle, right? With your cycling, which is great exercise, and that's your main mode of transportation, which I absolutely freaking love. And yeah, you eat healthier foods, you eat higher quality foods because in Europe, they have much higher food standards than we have over here in the U.S. So it's just definitely much healthier than the U.S. We're the most obese nation in the world. And he said in the U.S. I'd have to drive to the gym to cycle. Now you can cycle to get from point A to point B. So it's like you're not having to go out of your way to go to a gym and exercise. You're getting exercise just living your life, just going about your normal day-to-day activities. And that to me is just a really cool freaking thing. And I wish I could get more of that, but here, no, it's a necessity to have a car, and you got to drive everywhere. I still get my workouts in, but I don't get the daily exercise activity like 10 to 20 kilometers biking per week with some walking on top of it. I don't get all of that, but I get like a 30, 45-minute workout every day. Anyways, let's move on.
I've really learned to slow down over the past few years of living here. I mean, I used to live my life in a faster lane, you could say. I was going at 100, 120 miles per hour. But here I've learned that you can go 30, 40 miles per hour and cruise. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. I still remember my first few years here. I was frustrated at how slow things were, how slow things happen, say, in the workplace. But slowly, colleagues taught me that things don't need to be done now. They can wait. And it's really about working and living smarter, not faster. And that's something that I've come to appreciate, being able to live more in the present moment, to enjoy life now instead of the future, because my mind used to live very far in the future, making money for retirement. You know, life happens, and due to some unfortunate circumstances, I've had some people in my life die young, and that made me realize how important time is.
That's heartbreaking.
That this future of ours is not certain. And it's taught me to live more in the present moment, and that's what the system here and the culture here really allows one to do, to live more in the present moment. That life shouldn't be lived like a sprint, but more like a marathon.
Dear Diary,
I love
it's
that.
been 5
It's not a
years
sprint,
in the Netherlands,
it's a marathon.
and it's going well. But what's next? Well, I don't really know, and I'm okay with that.
I love it.
Because you're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way.
Okay, Dr. Seuss. I absolutely love his videos, and I love his mindset and outlook on life now that he's moved to the Netherlands. Slower living, right? Just enjoy your life now. Don't be living in the future. You're living right now, so enjoy it. And don't think you have to wait to enjoy life till you have this and you have that and this is taken care of and that's no, like enjoy your life every single day, because there are people who aren't waking up. And you did. Enjoy it. Cherish it. Don't let the moments pass you by. That's one thing my wife has absolutely taught me, because I feel like I was always living for the future, but now like I try to take in every day and have fun and enjoy it to the utmost. Of course there are better days than others, but live every day as if it was your last. That's a real quote. That's all we got. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, get a video a thumbs up, and check out the next one. And I'll see y'all next time.